Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Simply Seasonal podcast. Megan and Kara here, and we are going to be diving in deeper to the conversation from our cooking show, which aired earlier in the week on simply-seasonal.com. And here you're going to learn the simple ways to use seasonal foods to help you balance, heal, and thrive. So jump in at any time because what we're talking about is always relevant to what's going on right now. And right now, it's springtime, which means we are in the season of cleansing.
Yes. And so this is the perfect time to cleanse. And if you've watched the video you have, we love to talk about how, in a lot of people instinctively try to cleanse at that time, and it doesn't work out so well because our body's not ready for it. But right now is the time. But there's a lot going on in the world right now. And so, like we say in the video, cleansing can look very different for each individual, but it can also look very different for you depending on what's going on in your life and what's going on in the world. So we're going to talk about that today and how it might look like in this strange 2020 year.
Totally, because we're talking a lot about cleansing. Like, we're being told wash our hands, like wash your hands, like clean, clean, clean. If you got home from the grocery store, like jump in the shower, like get yourself cleaned off. So we're going to be talking about cleansing from this standpoint of the physical body, of what we're going through right now with cleansing our bodies for the virus and all of that. We're going to be talking about doing it for our internal health, for cleansing, which is normally what we're talking about with this topic, and also this time that we are at home and we are
We're
restrained
home anyway.
in our four walls. We're going to be talking about cleansing and spring cleaning. All of these things have the same energy and have to do with springtime, and it's the perfect time to talk about that because we want to make sure that when we are doing these things, we're not actually bringing in more chemical toxins and creating a more toxic environment. We want to actually have our cleaning and our cleansing be productive and actually clean up our space and help our physical body.
Yeah, and we get a lot of questions about what kind of cleaners we use, cleaning products, beauty products, things like this that do stay clean, because talk about so much about keeping our food clean and clear of preservatives and food colorings and all these chemical additives. But is that really doing anything when you then go ahead and grab a sponge that's sopped in bleach, or so it's like, did that just kill everything I just tried to do? So we're going to talk about how we try to clean up this side of our life as well, because all these little things that you do add up. So you go, oh, well, it's not so bad because the only thing I do is this. But if you're doing this, that all adds up, right? So yeah, we're going to just talk about cleaning the body, cleaning the home, cleaning our products, and, caring about our environment, which we need to do so much right now.
It's so important. And, it's also something to take into account too. Like when we're physically cleaning things, we have the Purell that we're wiping on our hands, or we think we're going to be really safe from this virus by bleaching our countertops every single day and things like that. It's really important for us to keep in mind what these things are. So these harsh chemicals, these bleaches, all of these things are endocrine disruptors. Most of them are carcinogenic, and a lot of them are xenoestrogens, which means they mimic the hormone estrogen. So women especially are really vulnerable to these toxic loads that are coming in because they will actually mimic estrogen in the body and thus throwing off and creating hormone imbalances. So, and this is true too, we'll get in later on in your makeups and lotions and nail polish. And I mean, not to freak anyone out, because again, our whole mantra here, especially during this time, is not to increase the fear, but what we want to do is increase the empowerment and the knowledge for you to understand what areas can actually be cleaned up and how to safely do that and what products are really good to do that. A lot of this is going back to basics, really simple stuff. And then we're also going to be making sure that we're cleansing our body during this time of year as well, so that we stay healthy and on our game, because that's the energy of what's going on.
And let's start out with the very basic and just talking about hand washing, because this is like our number one thing we need to do right now. And, and we've been saying this all along. And, thank you, mom. My mom noticed this like right when all those antibacterial soaps came out, hand washing soaps came out, back in the like 90s, they
Yeah,
kind of started getting big.
yeah,
And she's like, oh my gosh, don't use that stuff. Just use regular soap. And because she recognized, and we all recognize now, that you're not only killing the bad bacteria, you're also killing the good bacteria. So here I am working on my microbiome so bad, and then so hard, and then you go and just use some soap and you're wiping out all these other bacteria that are actually there to help you. Couple things here. First of all, let's remember that we're fighting a virus, not a bacteria. So it's important to keep that in mind and not have to worry so much about bacterial, and more just
that's
about the viral.
yeah,
And
that's really important because Carrie, you broke up just a little bit, but that's so important that antibacterial soaps and this antibacterial is for bacteria, not for viruses. So when you're doing antibacterial everything, you're not touching the virus. So it's just something really important to keep in mind because, like Kara said, the bacteria, the antibacterial, will start to kill your own good bacteria and weaken your own immune system. So if you're using a lot of that stuff, it's time to rethink that. So
mhm.
good job. Sorry.
Yeah, so just going back to good old fashioned soap and
Yeah.
water is like, I mean, this is basically all you really need, right? I mean, we survived a long time with just that product.
Mhm.
And what's going on there is with the virus is you have to get through this lipid bilayer. So it's basically like getting through a fatty layer of this virus, in order to penetrate and clean. And so that's where it's, you need warm water and you need to wash for 20 seconds. And basically you're just breaking through that barrier. And that's the important part. And just some regular soap is going to do that.
Yeah, it's so true. So that's awesome that we can just use basic stuff to really protect ourselves. And like we were saying, I was saying earlier about like the bleach and Purell, disinfectant wipes, the antibacterial soaps, like Kara was saying, chemical cleaners. I mean, we hear about these things all the time. Even it's interesting, our sense of feeling clean is the smell, or like the smell of clean is like the smell
Clean.
of bleach to a lot of people, or the smell of Clorox or something like that, or even like a
Yeah.
laundry detergent, right? Like,
Windex,
yeah, right. It has this clean
dryer sheet.
smell,
Yeah.
but actually it's
Hmm.
not clean. It's extremely toxic. All of these chemicals, I mean, you'll even see they all have warning labels on the back. I mean, they're really, really toxic things. That of course, as Kara mentioned, if you use one thing or two things, you might think, oh, it's not that big of a deal. But when we are seeing it's part of our everyday life, between how we wash our dishes to how we wash our clothes to, what we're putting on our countertops and washing our hands with, and even our hair and our shampoo, I mean, and our makeup,
Right.
so it
Right.
really
There
makes
it goes.
a
Yeah.
huge difference. And
Yeah.
so when these are, mess with our hormones, they are endocrine disruptors. Again, that's your whole entire hormone system that we talk a lot about, especially in the winter. And then even sorry, what else was I going to say? So the hormones and all of that, and carcinogenic, right? So, and they are known
Right.
carcinogens. So it's just really important that we get rid of these things because, they're full of these chemicals. Are the fragrance in there, it's the color in there, it's the solvents,
Mhm.
and all of these things
Yeah.
are
And
part of that.
yeah. And even if you're using rubber gloves when you clean and not touching these, because don't fool yourself, when you're touching these things, they are absorbing through your skin. So you are, putting these solvents in your body, very harsh chemicals. So say you use rubber gloves. Well, another thing is just the smell, and these really affect their respiratory irritants. So if you have any kind of asthma or any kind of respiratory, and especially now, taking care of our respiratory with this virus, and here's everybody sprayers everywhere, that isn't going to help our respiratory system. So it's really important to make sure you're picking clean products.
Totally, totally. So while we think we're helping in one area, we're actually hurting ourselves kind of even more in that same area we think we're helping.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
So
you might notice, so because I am sensitive to all these, I'm very sensitive to smells. I've always
mhm,
been, there's certain, for if I have a fragrance that is artificial, it instantly makes me nauseous, like I want to throw up. And I've always known this about myself. And I realize now that people with autoimmune conditions suffer from this a lot, or just people who are ultra sensitive to, chemicals. And, but a lot of times it's tied in with that, because when you inhale these things, your body, it's just one more thing your body has to sort through and figure out how to get out of your body. So it kind of tips you over that line of like more toxins that you have to deal with
yep,
that are
absolutely.
very easily. So it's really important to, so even with like candles and air fresheners, these things are not good for anybody who's not walking that line, or for anybody in general.
Yeah, especially now. Like, this isn't a good time to increase the toxicity into your lungs at
Right.
all, right? We need our lungs to be clear and really strong. So, a
Mhm.
lot of really good alternatives. I have a lot actually sitting right here. We were talking about too, like, well, sometimes, like in the shower, there's just like really hard things to scrub off that maybe like, something that would be great would be water and vinegar, right? Something like that might not be able to scrub through. So this is just plain white vinegar and water. That's what I have, and I clean so much stuff in. I reuse my bottles all the time, so this is always full of vinegar and water, and I spray almost everything with it. But if there's something tough, like in your shower or something like that that's not coming off, or your sink, you can use this Bonami, which is actually just ground up limestone. So it has a little bit of that abrasiveness to it, and you
Mhm.
just scrub it with a sponge or anything like that, it'll come right up. That's really natural. So stuff like that is really simple. And again, just like your grandmother used to do, water, vinegar, lemon, like that's your base. And you can always have that on hand. Really simple. And then, like Kara was saying, because this is such a soap kind of centric virus that's going on, so soap is really important. And we want that soap to degrade the lipid bilayer of the virus. Dr. Bronner's is a fantastic brand. They make, body stuff, but also this is their all-purpose cleaner brand. And the great thing about it is it's so concentrated. You just do like a tablespoon and, like a gallon of water. You can mop all your floors with it. You can scrub everything down with it. It's really, really great stuff.
And another brand is Seventh Generation, and they make laundry detergent and all, and you even see their toilet paper out there that's all recycled. Because something else to think about is that all of these cleaners are washing down through our drains, and they're getting into our water systems, just through the sewers. And this ultimately comes back in our environment and is even affecting the fish life. So I mean, there's even some fish that they're finding that are coming up, like male fish are having female like organs inside of them. Like there's just a lot of weird stuff going on, and it's definitely tied to a lot of this environmental pollution that we're putting in our waterways. So think about it, not just for you, but for the earth and for all the animals.
Totally, because again, it's endocrine disruptors, so that's why their reproductive stuff is getting all messed up. So, yeah, it's
Yeah,
really sad.
right. So that's why it's affecting the sexuality. Yeah.
Exactly. So just to keep that in mind, this will be really helpful. We also have, good laundry detergent. Again, having that smell that we're used to is not always meaning clean. That means pretty toxic, and that's emitting out into the air as well, causing more pollution. And then even our dishwash soap. So this is a good brand as well for your dishwasher.
Mhm.
Um,
And as far as the dryers, because the dryer sheets are really one of the most toxic things that you can have. And some people don't think their laundry smells clean until they're smelling those chemicals. And I'm going, no, that's not good for you. But if you get those wool dryer balls that, you just keep them in your dryer, and I'll take my essential oils, either lemon or lavender, and just put a few drops on them, like every, I don't know, 20 loads. I'll do that, just when I more. Sometimes I'll just freshen up with that. And it gives a nice aroma to your clothes as well.
Yeah, it's really simple, and it fluffs it up, it beats it up while it's in the dryer, so it makes it more effective as well. That
Right.
would be great.
Yeah.
Really great.
So you might be feeling, we always talk about spring cleaning the home. And so, here we're talking about, disinfecting, cleaning, but also there's that idea of just cleaning out your home, right? Like you might feeling while we're home, like, let's just declutter, let's clean out the garage. You were saying your neighbor was just doing that. We
Mhm.
just actually, that was the first thing we did was finish our organizing our garage when we got stuck at home. Um, and so you might be feeling this. And a lot of times we say spring cleaning, but it's interesting when Megan and I were talking about it, really in the fall and you might have noticed in the fall time, it was time to like get rid of some stuff. Like all of a sudden people are like, I'm donating all this stuff to Goodwill, you know, it's like getting rid of the closet, whatever, because springtime is actually when new things, right? New life pops up, new sprouts. And you might be thinking, I need a new cute little outfit for the spring or something. But if you didn't make that space in the fall, it just becomes clutter. So this is where we see that when we decluttered in the fall and got rid of what no longer serves us, there's room for new growth to pop up.
Mhm. Yeah, it's awesome. And even there's practices like feng shui that really go into this as well. And you've probably heard of that and think, oh, whatever. But, spring cleaning is a big part of that. It's this energy that you are getting rid of this old stuff that's holding you back. Even if you don't see it every day, if it's in a closet in like a guest room that you're never in, but it's cluttered, that actually weighs heavy on your own energy. And think about how good that feels when you finally do clear it out. And even though you don't walk past it any day, it's like, oh my gosh, that is so organized now and so clean, and everything in there is good because. And it makes you feel so good. It's like a weight off of your chest. And you go, wow, I didn't actually realize how that was way in the back of my head, but it was there every day, all day long, kind of
Mhm.
nagging at you, bringing you down of like, hey, like you got to get rid of some stuff or, whatever. So it's really this energetic
Right.
practice of clearing out the old because in physics, it's physically impossible to have empty space. Once something's cleared out, something will come in and fill it. And what that'll be immediately when you clean things out is it's new energy. So it's this fresh
Mhm.
energy. And it's really great too if we're in kind of like the doldrums or feeling down or depressed or, either about what's going on in the world or just because it's still winter time for you and you're like, when's it going to warm up?
Mhm.
Anything like that. This is a really good practice to uplift you because you're now bringing in this new, fresh energy.
And I think back to like my college years when I could not study for a test until I'd cleaned my room. Me and my mate would reorganize the furniture, or it was all of a sudden it was time to clean the bathroom, or and it's like you have to get all that stuff out of the way before you can actually sit down and focus. And it's like that's that feeling of like feeling organized everywhere in your life, so that you can organize inside your mind, right?
Yeah, and I think people think it's like a procrastination method, but I honestly think it's because when you sit down to focus, you realize how much is actually on your mind. You can't focus until
Mhm.
you get all that stuff cleared out. Then the new energy comes in and you can actually finally sit down and focus. So,
Right.
yeah, I think it's so true. I think it's more along those lines than even procrastination, which is what I used to call it when I was in college.
Right.
I'm just
Right.
procrastinating. Totally.
Um, yeah. So go ahead and like Marie Kondo anything you need to, get rid of stuff, make room for the new. It's a great practice to do, especially this time of
Yep. Yep.
year.
We're all home, right? And people are
And so the other thing we want to look at, are we getting ready to go? Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing you might be going through is your bathroom drawers and realizing how much like makeup and beauty products and old shampoos. And here's another thing to look at, like we just talked about with the cleaning products. Another place where a lot of these endocrine disruptors and fragrances and all the stuff is hiding. I have a friend who, when we brought it up last year, she emailed me the ingredients of her lipstick because she like looked up on, I forget if it was like Clinique or something like that.
really
And she looked up the ingredients, and there were about, 75 ingredients in her lipstick, of none that I can read. All these words were all chemicals.
Yeah, and you're literally, like, eating it. Not only are
Yeah.
your lips absorbing it, but, like, you're
Yeah.
eating it all day long.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. No, it's really crazy. I used to have this thing when I was younger, I don't know, where it was like if I wouldn't have a tablespoon of it, I don't wanna have it. So it was like and I would use that for, like
If you won't bite your lipstick and eat it,
exactly, but
then
when
you
you
don't
think
want,
about
right.
it, you're using it and, all of a sudden your lipstick's gone and you're like, "Wow, my body just ate that much of that," right?
Right.
Sure, it was over a period of time, but literally just ate that.
Yeah. So, I mean, and we're even talking like nail polish, which has formaldehyde in it. Not so good. I mean, my body can't, my nails get really dry. I've been diagnosed with dry nail from the manicurist. She told me I have dry nail. And I always thought I had toenail fungus. And it turns out it was just that my nails can't handle nail polish. So I
Mhm.
can go and get like the natural nail polishes. They don't last as long. But just to say that there's a lot going on in these products that we don't think about, and we just throw on our body, and we think they're on the surface, and nope, they are absorbing into our body. So just give it some hard thought. There's some great companies coming out now in keeping this stuff clean. There's Beauty Counter is a makeup line, which Megan, you've dove into that, right?
Mhm, yeah, they're really good. I really like using their stuff.
Yeah. And there's, I mean, there's a ton of them. Even if you go into Whole Foods, you can see there's a ton of,
Mhm.
brands out there. And I love all the Burt's Bees products. I use their, lip glosses and stuff like that.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. And so basically, kind of like what we're saying here is just that, cleansing, like this is the time to cleanse. It's awesome that we're all kind of cooped up right now and we have that ability to clear out this old space to bring in energy for the new. But also just knowing that, like, whatever your space is, whether it's your physical house space or just your space in general, it's very representative of your own self and what's going on internally. Even in feng shui, they say if something is cluttered or there's stuff on the floor, that's usually a sign of depression, which is just very fascinating to think about it. But when you think, oh yeah, I've had that thing sitting there for a long time, again, it's kind of pulling you down, dragging you down, or you have,
Mhm.
a pile of papers, which I tend to do in this one area of the kitchen, and I walk by it all the time, and I'm like, oh, I need to get to those. Oh, we need to pay those bills. Oh, and it's like it's pulling you down constantly. So this is a really great time to take advantage of the new. And and I just think in general too, this what we're going through right now is really reestablishing us in the world, reestablishing our earth a lot, because on the other side of this, we'll never be the same. After this virus and whatever's going on, it is changing us. So we are going through this change right now, and it might be a really harsh one, but on the other side there's a lot of newness, and so that's what spring represents, is getting rid of the old and stepping into the new and making space for the new.
Right. And we talk about springtime. So every year, springtime is this time where the earth literally like shifts onto a new axis, and that dirt under the ground is getting it's moving around and loosening up as the snow melts and more rain comes down and it gets wet and moist. And so that old, everything that's been resting and frozen over the winter is now breaking up. And so when you have earth and water together, that makes mud. And so in the Ayurvedic tradition, this is a kapha condition. So if you're kapha, you're the spring type, which means that you might feel a little stuck in mud, like you're somebody who gets congested, you're somebody who feels your energy really low. And even though I don't have too much kapha in me innately, I do feel this time of year, and I go, what's wrong with me? It's like springtime, I should have spring fever running around, and all of a sudden I get this like there's just like a tiredness that comes up, and it's just that energy that needs to be broken up and cleared through. And it's really interesting when you understand it in that way, because it's like, okay, let me go ahead and, let me start drinking more water, and let me start cleansing, and let me start clearing. And all of a sudden you feel all that break up, and it feels wonderful.
Totally. And so we talk about this a lot, especially if you watch the cooking show episode that goes along with this. But really, this movement that Kara is talking about, so it's this upward movement in the earth, and versus in the fall, it's this falling back or this regression energy. Now it's this uplifting energy. So in Chinese medicine, that energy is moving up, regardless if you're ready for it or not. It's coming up. And so it'll start at the bottom of your foot in your kidney one point, and that energy comes up through the body. And if there's anything stuck in the body, it's going to move that up too. So if there's, if we didn't really take care of ourselves during the winter, or we have too much of that winter energy, like we've been eating maybe year round too much, animal fats and, warm cooked foods, and, the, kind of more of that, lots of the carbohydrates, and we have a lot of that dense warming energy. If we eat like that quite often, this spring energy can be really difficult for us because that's a lot of heavy load to move, and it can hit you in terms of headaches and migraines. That's where we get, usually during this time of year, cold and flu season is more of the head cold, because it's this energy rising. And again, like we said in last week's podcast, that we're actually having it be a respiratory condition, which is more fall, this virus that's going around, because it was established in the fall, and that's the season of the lungs. So anyway, regardless of what's going on, we are more susceptible to contracting sicknesses and flus this time of year because we're having another movement. And if we're not ready for this movement, we could get hit easier with anything that comes in our way. So we want to support our bodies with this cleansing, clearing movement with the ways that we're eating. And one of the things that you can do is you can actually do an actual cleanse, which we're going to talk about, but you can also do more mild versions of cleanses, because this time of year, this year is different than it was last year, and you might be in a different space. So we're going to talk about what that looks like. You could do more gentle cleanses, or if you're feeling it, you can do a real cleanse and really get your body cleared out and ready to go.
And the purpose of this cleanse is really, Megan and I were talking about any kind of cleanse you do is really cooling the body. So this is when your body is like overheated. It's like too much, inflammation, excess heat from the winter, because we worked so hard on building up that heat and that digestive fire and all the stuff over the winter. And when you break it up, it's kind of like, if you don't clear it, it's kind of sitting around still lingering. And as it begins to warm up, you don't want it there. And especially if you tend to run hot, like this is the time to really cool it down and sweep all of that excess heat out of the body. And so what's interesting, so one thing is just cleaning out all these toxic chemicals that we just talked about in your beauty products, your cleaning products, heater uppers of your body, right? So one thing is just cleaning out there. And then, okay, even just as simple as if you are the person who eats meat in every meal, and it's not a meal unless there is meat in the meal, try just having one meal a day without meat. And for you, this will be a cleanse. So, all spring long, just make sure you have one vegetarian meal. Now, if you're a little bit further than that, and not consuming that much meat, maybe try once a week, having a vegetarian day. And if you even further want to go with this, try cutting out meat completely for the spring.
Mm-hmm. And you'll see a lot of religious practices doing this too, right? During this time of year, you see a lot of the fasting and all of that going on, and then even for Lent with the Catholic religion, it's actually modified quite a bit. So now it's only on Fridays, but that's what they say is fish on Fridays, because you're not eating other meat. Whereas when you go back in
If you
time,
watch our fish episode, we talk about how cooling fish is, right?
exactly. And when you go back in time in the religion, it actually was more often than just Fridays. It was like, I think the whole season of Lent was just fish. And
I
then,
thought it was all vegetarian, and then in modern days, people couldn't deal with it, and
I mean,
they're like, okay, you can have fish.
yeah, because you can go even before that. When you go back even before a lot of these established religions, they were, humans have been doing this for thousands of years. We only have our modern religions in like the last 3,000, 2,000 years. When you go back even before that, humans have been using this method of cleansing for so long because they saw that when you did this once a year, especially during the springtime, that you had prolonged life and longevity and health. And it also really helped clear the mind, because when we clear out the physical body, just like we did with feng shui, right? We clear out the closet. Now we have this newness and this brightness coming through. Same thing with the physical body. When you can clear out the physical body, all of a sudden this newness and the brightness comes in the mind. So this is what we were doing. And then what happened is they were able to tap in and realize, wow, I can tap into the higher power. Priests were using this. I can tap in and speak closer to God or whoever that they were tapping into. And so that's when it started relating to religion, and religion was bringing in this practice because it helped them enhance their own practice. So this actually goes way, way back, and is really how we had this basically boost of health once a year, was doing a cleanse once a year. And that could be complete fasting, right? Like again, you look at religion, and Jesus went into the desert for 40 days to fast,
Mhm.
so that he could speak to God, right? So he used that practice. Buddha has done that practice, right? All of these big religious leaders do that practice, again, for the same thing of clearing the mind. So it's really, really effective. Again, you can do fasting, you can do water fast, you could do master cleanse. So we'll get into now kind of the sequence and
More
the
nutrition.
intensity of
Yeah. Yeah, and everything we really mentioned so as far as cleansing, we're actually talking about, I guess, deprivation a little bit, and like resisting, pulling things out, which is important. But sometimes that's really difficult to think about it in that way. And another way to look at it, and another way to cleanse is really by adding. Okay, so adding in tons of fresh produce, tons of vegetables, tons of fruits. And the way we can do this by amping this up is doing maybe smoothies and juices. And this is another way to cleanse.
hmm Totally. So, like Kara was saying, she broke up just a little bit, but instead of taking out and focusing on that, it's what are you adding in? And we both think that this is a good way to look at health in general, instead of saying, what do you need to cut out of your diet, to be healthier? It's like, okay, well, what if we just added a ton of good stuff in, right? So, that's exactly it. If we increase our ratio of vegetables during this time of year, then that's really, vegetables and fruits are the cleansing mechanisms of food, right? The animal meats, the animal fats, the grains, things
Mhm.
like that, they're beautiful foods. We needed them very much so in the winter. But this is the time where we want to go towards the cleansing, because that's bringing everything through and it's flushing and clearing everything out.
Right. And we talked about this last week as well in the leafy greens and the seaweeds and things like this. We talked about how they filter and cleanse and push through. So these are all great things to bring in. And we want to bring them in massive levels, like not just, oh, I ate a little side salad. We want like giant plates of leafy greens. And if this is hard for you to do, eating these giant salads and eating all these raw greens, that's where these smoothies become really convenient, because I mean, you zip them up and they're really easy to get down.
hmm Yep, absolutely. And also, this could be just a good time of year, like Kara was saying, of increasing all of your veggies. So, if you wanted to for like 30 days be vegetarian or plant based, that in itself is a method of a cleanse, because for you, that may have been a big, big shift. So, you're still eating, but you're just eating the plant based stuff. You could also, this is the time of year, if you want to cut carbs, this is the time to do it. Um, because what happens is carbohydrates are really high in glucose, which is sugar. It's the body's version. The body converts everything, even a piece of kale, over to glucose, because that's usable sugar that it needs for the cells. So if you want and you feel like you've kind of maybe overdone it with a lot of carbohydrates, this is an effective time to do it, because spring is the season of the liver. So the liver holds all of the glucose stores. And the more glucose stores it has, the more it will store, especially around the midsection. So if we want to, this is the time, the season of the liver. So the liver is very stimulated and wanting to clear through. So as you're cleansing and all of that, and you're cutting out the carbohydrates, the liver is now able to burn through more of those glucose stores. So it's very effective. But the thing to keep in mind is eventually you're going to have to add the carbohydrates and things back in. And when we do, we want to make sure we're adding back in the whole forms
Mhm.
and really still avoiding the refined types of grains and refined breads and pastas and cakes and things like that, and stick with the whole grains, doing brown rice and, all of these other whole type of grains. But this will be a very effective way for you to burn through. But make sure you bring it back in, after like a month or so of doing it.
Yeah, and if you don't wanna go as extreme with that, you can just avoid, refined flours,
Mhm,
and stick with the whole grains.
mhm.
So it's all up to you, right? So it's like, where are you at? Like, could you lose some weight in the belly? Do you need but, if I took that out, I feel like I wouldn't have enough energy at this
Mhm.
point. Like, I need that for my survival because 'cause I'm not eating as much meat. So it's everybody's bio individuality. You need to know where you're at. Where's your health, where's your weight, what does your body need more, do you need more warming, more cooling? This is all up to let into account what's happening in the world, because there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of unknown, and doing something like this could aggravate that even more. So if it's something, if you need to stay in comfort food, and this is something I'm actually leaning more towards this. I've been cooking down a ton of vegetables, eating a lot of vegetables, but mostly cooked. That's okay too. So, I'm making them into nice, comfy, cozy soups and casseroles and things like this. And to me, that just feels more grounding and comforting, which I might need a little bit more this year.
Yeah, definitely. To kind of bring you, like with anxiety, it's more of that upward movement. So it helps to pull you back down and help you feel grounded. But then
Mhm.
also, if we're feeling really down in the dumps, I'm feeling depressed or that kapha stuck in the mud kind of
Right.
feeling,
It's
that,
a different way of dealing with the same emotion,
yeah, exactly. Then that's
right?
the time where you need to cleanse and yeah, you're spot on. It totally is. And that's why we love Ayurveda and Chinese medicine and all of these traditional wisdoms, because they're so smart and know exactly what's going on. And then you just, cut and paste what's going on in our modern world. Oh, this still applies, whatever's going on.
Right, right. So,
Which is so,
you kind of yeah, and you kind of froze at that, but you were saying, like, if you feel more depressed about what's going on and, like, it's making you lazy and you're just sitting watching TV and you're not moving, then that's where, like, an actual cleanse, like, having more smoothies and juices, something more clearing and uplifting, this might be the perfect time for you to do something like that. Yeah.
totally. Totally. So, kind of like to overview the cleansing, like we were talking about. So, you can do something as simple as cutting out meat, right? That can be its own version of a cleanse during this time of year. You can be really strictly vegan, vegetarian, plant based for like a month, right? That's a really good version of a cleanse. Then you can get a little bit more, you can cut out the carbohydrates, like I was saying too. That's another option. You can also get a little bit more extreme about it, and you can do juicing and smoothies. You could do that for a couple weeks where that's really all that you eat is just juices and smoothies. Now, it might be a little difficult now because we don't have as easy access to as many groceries. So having that volume of food might be kind of difficult. Especially to do juicing, you need a lot of stuff just to get some juice.
Yeah, this might not be the year to do that.
Easier to do that. It might feel really good, but you might not be able to do a full cleanse if you can't get, enough to the grocery store for enough food. And
Mhm.
then there's also the master cleanse, which Kara and I did last year. I've done it for like the last, you know, 5 or 7 years. I've done it for a very long time at this point. Or no, not the Master Cleanse. The Master Cleanse I've only done for 3 years, but I've done other cleanses in the past for a long time. And the Master Cleanse is lemon and cayenne and maple and water. And so that's actually a really good one that you could survive on for a long time without going to the grocery store.
Yeah.
You just stock up on lemons and have a jug of maple syrup and a thing of cayenne pepper, and you're set. So this could be a really good time to take advantage of that. But like Kara said, if you're already feeling really anxious, again, this stuff really opens up and clears the mind. It could be too clearing for you if you're very anxious. But again, if you're feeling like, oh no, I just need to get moving, I need something, I'm feeling just stuck, this is a great thing for you to do. And you can do it, a minimum of all of these cleanses would be 3 days. The body needs 3 days to really clear out, reset, and then you get on that cleanse high on day 3. The first 2 days are always the hardest, but once you get to day 3, push through, get it, you'll get there, and you're going to feel great, and you can maintain that as long as you want, and then you can end it. And when you do end any cleanse, let yourself off gently,
Yeah.
right? Try not
Don't
to just
don't order a pizza. Yeah.
yeah, drinking and alcohol here and there. Well, that's another thing too, is alcohol, right? Um,
Yeah.
to cleanse and clear out, but don't jump right back into all that. Really be gentle to your body and bring in all of these whole foods and really be gentle.
Right, right. Um, so I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, I was going to say that on our website, we have the whole your blog on the Master Cleanse if you want to know the recipe and the layout and how it works and the step by step. Megan did a great guide on how to follow it. I followed her guide exactly last year, and it was an incredible experience, which I think I'm going to skip this year just because it's a little too much. It was very intense, and I was ready for it last year,
Yep.
and I'm not ready for it this year. I think for me personally, it's just going to look a lot like, I'm ordering farm boxes and just eating vegetables like crazy. I might do a khichdi kind of thing. So a khichdi cleanse is another thing you can do, and that's this Ayurvedic. It basically means mixture. We put the recipe for that last week. It's very simple, easy on your digestion, and you basically just eat khichdi for like 3 days, and that's it. So it's just, again, very simple food that your body can digest easily and work on other things. So it can work on detoxing and doing other things because it knows what it's getting consistently.
And it can take a break. That's exactly it. When it comes to cleansing, that's really the bottom line of what's going on, is you're giving
Give
your
the
body
body a break.
so it
Yeah.
can burn through and it can heal what maybe it hasn't been able to get to. So if you've had like a chronic pain or a chronic cough or something like that that's not going away, the body's really busy doing other things. So if you can just let it be, let it do its job, it really does need sometimes nothing coming in. It really does, and it does well with that. That's where like intermittent fasting comes in. That's another thing. But like Kara and I always say, we do that every day, because intermittent fasting is stop eating, in the evening around 6 or 7 o'clock, and then fasting all night long, and break fasting in the morning, right? You have your breakfast. So this is the concept behind intermittent fasting, is giving the body a break. But hopefully you're doing that already. Some people find success in doing it for longer periods, like not eating until noon and just eating in the afternoon or whatever it is. Some people go extreme with it and it can work for them. Again, it's just a version of a type of fast and a cleanse.
And depends on your body type and your metabolism and how your body works,
Totally.
right? So, to know your body as best you can, know what you need, know what's going to feel like something significant as a cleanse to you. And, as sad as it is, like, we love that the topic of cleansing came up right now. And, Megan and I were kind of acknowledging, as sad to say, is that, like, it's kind of like the earth is cleansing itself right now. It's over toxified. It's angry. We had so many fires this year. It too was irritated and hot and needs a cleanse. And, this is a sad condition for humanity. And, we can talk about it pretty freely right now, but we don't have anyone close to us who is affected yet. And I know when we do, if we do, it's going to feel very different to speak about it in this way. But that's really how we're looking at it and what's going on. And so do your best to, keep your body as strong as you can so that, you can be part of this flow of the earth and this evolution and be part of the growth and, keep your body healthy and strong.
Yeah, because there's a lot of new on the other side, and that starts with each one of us individually. So the more we take care of ourselves, clear out that old, get ready for this new, the better the world's going to be on the other side of this. So it all starts with us.
That's
Yeah.
great. Cool. Well, I think that's all we have to talk about today, right?
But we do have an announcement. So if you haven't heard, we have come out with a cookbook, and it is in print right now.
Mhm.
So it's not available just yet, but we'll keep you posted. So our cookbook is all of these amazing recipes that we have that will walk you through the whole year from winter, spring, summer, fall. So you can follow it along. And it's everything that you need for the whole year, just right in one book. So anyway, we'll keep you posted on that.
We'll get that set up on our website to order. So don't forget to always visit our website. Visit the episode of the week, follow our emails. If you don't get them, it's simply-seasonal.com. Sign up for them. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Simply Seasonal Cooking Show. And yeah, that's about it.
All right. Well, we'll see you next week. Thanks for joining.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.